Okay, so this is a slide that we'll have up when people are coming in. We'll get some fresh pictures. These are the pictures from last year's annual meeting. And then the agenda. I thought obviously Steve would call the meeting to order and get the approval of the minutes from both the annual meeting and the special meeting. And then he can give his opening remarks. Assume he wants to acknowledge the past presidents that are in the room, as well as the outgoing board member, Mark Heffernan. Thank him for his years of service on the board and being president. Perhaps mentioning Drew Stitz too. I don't know if he's going to stay on as past president or not. If you guys have had that conversation. And then moving on to the election of the board by affirmation. I can't remember exactly how you've done that in the last year. And then the bylaws would be handled, and I could either guide that discussion, or Steve, perhaps you would be more qualified to do that. And I'm not sure how much discussion there'll be on that. And then the vote. And I assume because we have people that are not voting members in the room, that we need to have some type of written vote. So I don't know if we can give all the regular members a ballot, all the voting members a ballot when they come in, and then collect those, or again, you might have a way better way that you've done it in the past. I thought then I could give a little bit of the year in review, membership update by Lindsay, and then I could talk about the club financials and looking ahead to 2018, and then of course turn it over to Mike Colleen. Probably turn it back to Steve, and I think that we talked about the other night of really making a case of what Mike is presenting, that it is not the master plan, and exactly what we talked about the other day. So we should probably talk about how you want to handle the bylaws. I don't know. I can't imagine we want to go through each and every one. Everybody's been sent them. I'll send again the summary with the notice of the meeting, and hopefully we can just field questions and then take the vote. But obviously open to whatever suggestions that you might have. Okay, real quickly, I'd like to touch on some of the highlights from 2016-17. Once again, we experienced our membership growth. So this is the 5th straight year that we've had a net growth in membership. We had 61 new families join the club, which is just amazing. And I'm going to let Lindsay get into the details about that when she comes up here in a couple minutes. The increased monthly capital assessment really provided the resources needed to help start improving the member experience and begin to address real infrastructure needs. Kind of quietly behind the scenes, we've had a committee, the Long Range Planning Committee, who has drilled down on a lot of our infrastructure needs and been working with management and starting to develop plans to address these needs using that capital fund that we were going to be accumulating over the next years to get things done. And a lot of them are things that we wish could have been done sooner, but we just didn't have the funds to do that. But we're going to be ready to address those and be prepared to have a plan to do it over the next 5 and 10 years. Obviously, when we started the year, the MSD had the place pretty well torn up, and they completed their work, and we had the course restored ahead of schedule, which made for a really great golf season. We had increased participation in almost every member event that we did. At the Easter, Mother's Day, the children's party with Santa Claus, all of our existing parties had great, many of them record turnouts. And we were at capacity or better for our the member guests. And of course, we kicked off the new 2-man event. We made a few notes to do that even better for next year, but all in all, great season with all our existing events, social and golf. Yeah, we had some great new social events that we had not done before. We did a candlelight dinner, and we put this in with only a few weeks notice and had a pretty good turnout. But I will tell you, Do not miss this. Mark your calendars, December 23rd. You're going to want to be at this year's candlelight dinner. The whole place is lit in candles. We have this choir from the Webster Groves High School, beautiful voices, absolutely outstanding food. Don't miss it. You can make it a really great family tradition. And of course, we had our big band night. We wanted to make sure that we had enough variety in our entertainment this year that we touched upon. We've always done a lot of stuff for younger people, and we wanted to make sure that our more mature audience also had nights that were geared directly towards them. And the big band night was a great example of that. Over 100 people came and danced the night away. We did a post party for the member. In the past, after this 3-day golf event, things kind of ended and that was it. And so we put this post party in. It was a great time to get the ladies out to join, and anybody that still had enough gas left in the tank after 3 days of grueling golf came out and DJ, great food, and that was a really nice party. Of course, the concert on the course was definitely one of the highlights. We had just absolutely beautiful weather, great band, wonderful food, and 285 people came out, and I think it's going to be even bigger next year. I would bet on it. Dueling Pianos was just a couple of weeks ago. Over 100 people again for that event. And after the piano players were done, it was a really nice group sitting outside by the fire. Just a very very nice get together, the way it should be at a country club. And of course, throughout the summer, we had our live music series with a variety of different types of bands. And that just, I think, energized that whole patio atmosphere. When we're going to look at financials a little bit later, one of the things you'll see is that we increased our food and beverage sales. Significant amount of that was on that patio. Prior year, we had done about just under $200,000 in restaurant and bar sales on the patio. And this year we did $265,000. So great job by the staff. And again, getting the music out there, I think, was really fun. And hopefully we can do more of that next year. And of course, we began work on a master plan. And we started actually interviewing firms for this almost a year ago. And I can tell you that we could not have been happier with the decision that we made of who to select for this. And you're going to see why in a little while. So club improvements over the last year, these are mostly capital improvements, and this is where you begin to see where your $80 a month is going to. We did a roof on the Westville room and kitchen and the HVAC for the men's locker room. I know that's pretty exciting stuff because you guys spent a lot of time on the roof, but it actually is stuff that is really important, obviously. We did get new golf carts. And of course, we upgraded the course amenities throughout the golf course. We had a new rough mower and a new greens roller. Once again, probably not something that you will get real excited about when you come to the club every day. But I'll tell you, without that third rough mower, it would be really tough to keep up with the grass growing out there. And we fixed the stairs and rails over at the tennis house. I understand that was in a condition where we pretty much closed the upstairs last year because of the condition of the rails and the stairs. We resurfaced the front entrance. If I had a before picture here, you would see it was very stained and dirty, and it's got a nice crisper look to it. We got rid of the urns and got some nice flower pots that Jennifer did a nice job decorating. Got a couple of new elliptical machines up in the fitness center, and a total coincidence that that television there has a Chicago Bears on it at the time I took that picture. And then we spent a significant amount of money, nearly $100,000, on a variety of new kitchen equipment that was absolutely essential if we were going to make our food service better and provide a product on a regular basis. And we did make sure that we paid attention to that if we do at some point do some type of kitchen renovation, none of the things that we bought would be wasted. We really made sure that we were getting equipment that would be utilized in the event of a kitchen renovation. But I will tell you how much, I can't even begin to tell you, I should say, how much the staff really appreciates being able to work with equipment that has either been upgraded or equipment that they didn't have to work with in the past. And then, of course, we refreshed the look of the Glen Oak room, the room we're sitting in right now, and the striped wallpaper and the shiny brass chandeliers and the 33-year-old banquet chairs. And, you're sitting in a nice, comfortable banquet chairs with no rips in it now. And the walls look a little bit better. And I will tell you that I just felt that before we did this, it was going to be a really, really tough room to sell for a wedding reception. And last year we had 2 weddings at the club, and this coming year we already have 6. And Dan Rolfe has told me he doesn't think we've ever had more than 4. And so I think that it just is a little bit of a sign that as we upgrade our facilities, we will get more usage out of them going forward. Okay, then at this point, Lindsay would be up, and of course we'll update all these pictures, the ones that we used from the prior year, and she'll talk about the 2017 membership results and make sure to remind everybody to keep all their friends in mind for membership. She'll go through all the statistics, then touch also upon the membership surveys, and she was working on compiling those results today. And then I will touch upon the club financials. Okay, well, at this point, I'd like to walk you through the balance sheet a little bit. So in our current assets, we have our operating cash and our restricted cash. And again, just to remind everybody that we keep these 2 funds separately. They're actually in separate bank accounts. So our operating cash is just over $30,000, almost equivalent where it was last year. Our restricted cash is at $462,000, and that's down a little bit from last year as well. Important to remember is that we did get the money from the MSD fund. We had $386,000 that we had last year and $251,000 that we are carrying on the books this year as deferred revenue. And so when we received that, we recorded it as deferred revenue. And then when we reinvest that money back into the club, into the golf course, it will be recognized as income. And so over the last year, about $140,000 of that was recognized as income, and the remaining is in our restricted cash there. So that $462,000 that you see in our capital fund, the $251,000 of it is from the MSD fund, and that's going to go towards the creek. But in the restricted fund, we essentially started the year with about $120,000 cash, and we took in $500,000 of cash and spent about $400,000 of that on those capital projects that I showed you before. And so we ended the year with about $200,000 in the capital fund, which I think is a good target to try to finish each year at. So we do have a little cushion if a unexpected event were to happen. Other current assets are essentially our accounts receivable in our inventories. So our current assets were $1.3 million, and with total assets of $8.1 million, about $100,000 higher than year over year. Our line of credit at the end of the year had a balance of $400,000 on it, and that's compared to $251,000 last year. And I would remind everybody that we did have $150,000 tax refund last year that is not going to be an annual event, and there was something that lowered everybody's assessment last year, lowered our need to be out on the line of credit by as much at the end of the year. So that $150,000 is almost exactly what, the difference between last year's balance on the line of credit and this year's balance on the line of credit. And of course, that number on the line of credit becomes significant because that is how part of the calculation for the assessment, the cash replenishment assessment, is to pay off the line of credit and to take the operating cash up to $100,000. So that will come into play when we talk about the calculation of the operating assessment. So we've got the current portion of long-term debt, which you see is, which again is what we would pay in the next 12 months on the principal on our mortgage, which you see is $100,000 less than it was last year. And that has to do directly with the refinance of the loan. So that's where the additional $100,000 of annual cash is going to be available to the club compared to with the old loan. And again, we refinanced at a better interest rate and re-amortized the loan out a little bit longer to achieve that additional $100,000 cash. And then the long-term debt is the remainder, is primarily the remainder of the mortgage. Just to kind of put it in perspective, our mortgage balance is 4.459, and with a membership base of say 375 full dues equivalents, full member equivalents, however you want to say that, it would be equivalent of about a $12,000 per member mortgage. And so when we make the payments, $28,000 a month, essentially $75 a month of your dues goes towards paying the principal and interest on the mortgage. So at the end of the day, the members' equity increased by about $280,000. Okay, so we go to the income statement. Now, our total unrestricted revenues have grown by about $240,000 year over year. This was substantially driven by restaurant sales and dues. Our dues are up about $100,000, and our restaurant sales were up about $100,000. If you look at our dues line over the last several years, since 2013, they've increased every year, and we believe they're going to increase again in 2018. And what's really significant about this is that they've increased without an individual increase to the members. So all of these increases have been by growing the membership. Our actual dues to the members, the $610 a month, has not changed since 2011. So that's a really great sign. Our food and beverage sales since 2012 have grown by almost $500,000. And anybody in the industry is going to tell you you cannot budget or balance a club budget based on your food and beverage sales, and that's absolutely true. But as we approach $2 million, we can begin to go from, having losses in the food and beverage every year to having some break-evens or gains on a yearly basis, and that certainly would be one of my goals in the coming years. Our unrestricted expenses grew by just under $200,000, and these were significantly driven by our golf course expenses. We had about a $40,000 bogey in the water this year. Average over the last number of years has been about $55,000 for water, and this year we spent $95,000 on water because of the drought. There was one year, 2012, I think it was a drought year, and we spent about $90,000 in water that year. But other than that, we've not been anywhere close to this. And of course, we had all the MSD project that we had to water and everything too. So, but the other thing that came in is the labor, the grounds wages. As we looked at this at the very beginning of the year with the golf committee or the grounds and greens committee, we knew that we were going to have to spend a lot more money if we were going to try to begin to achieve the type of playing conditions and the conditioning of the course that we believe is what this private club should have. And so we made a commitment to do this. It was an $80,000 commitment over what we did last year. But if you really look at it, if you go back to 2009, we have not even reached that 2009 level yet. So what happened was back in 2009, 2010, significant cuts were made because of the economy, and we just never put that money back into it. And so over all these years, little by little, we did not keep up with the things we needed to keep up with. And it's going to take a number of years to get that back. And I think that we've made some strides to getting that this year, but we certainly are not where we want to be. But this number is not going to go back down to 350,000 if we want to continue to improve our golf course. So other income is our capital assessment initiation fees. And again, we had $500,000 in capital assessments and initiation fees. That's your $80 a month and the new initiation fees that people are paying. And this is a really good number, ladies and gentlemen. And with this, we can begin to address a lot of the infrastructure that I talked about earlier. The cash replenishment assessment, of course, was the $260,000 that was on your bill last year, the same time of year, to replace the cash that we lost last year. And last year, we experienced the one-time tax refund, which of course we did not have this year. However, again, thanks to Mike Brennan and his team, we do pay significantly lower taxes than we were paying on an annual basis. But we, of course, are not going to get that refund on a yearly basis. So overall, net income for membership was $262,000, and that's an increase from the previous year of $404,000. And again, just to kind of sum that up a little bit, $262,000, but we had $260,000 that was an assessment from last year's cash loss. But then again, last year was $141,000 of tax refund. So, okay, so now everybody's favorite subject, the cash replenishment assessment. And as you know, the bylaws allows the board to assess up to a $1,500 cash replenishment assessment. And that is essentially to pay off the line of credit and to fund operating cash up to $100,000. And that's up to a balance of $100,000 from whatever our current balance is. So the balance on the line of credit at 9/30/2017 was $400,000. And the amount needed to bring the operating cash to $100,000 was about $70,000. So the total cash replenishment assessment is going to be $470,000. The full member equivalents that this will be spread among is 375. And again, we have social members that pay half and house members that pay 1/4. But a full member equivalent, if you're a golf member, it'll be $1,253 for the assessment. And this is just how it breaks down for golf, social, and in-house. This just kind of outlines the assessment history. And if you look over, the last number of years, it's been $1,500, $1,200, $2,400, $2,500. Last year was $722. The 2016 would have been $1,125, almost the same assessment, had we not had that tax refund. And again, this is your dues history over here that says, we have not raised the dues since 2011. So to have an assessment at the end of the year of $1,200, we wish it all would be less. I would have loved to come in here in my first year and lowered that assessment. But I tell you, we would have done you a very, very much a disservice to artificially lower that by not spending the money in the grounds and greens or some of the areas that we did that are going to be long-term drivers of success for the club. So looking ahead to the next year, I got to tell you, I'm even more excited about this than I was looking forward to last year. And we're going to open up the year. And first of all, this December, we're going to begin an annual tree maintenance program. And we've worked this into the operating budget. We're going to spend probably $35,000 a year. And we're going to hire professional arborists to come in and start really helping to maintain our trees. And Tim's done a great job with the equipment and the personnel that he's had to work with, but there's certain things that he can't reach. We'll have certified arborists that will be in here, and they were going to remove the dead wood out of a lot of our trees. We're going to begin to limb up a lot of the trees, and as we do that, you're going to notice a difference in the grass. There's a lot of areas that we just have so much shade, and when you start limbing up the trees, they get more sunlight on a daily basis, and the turf grass is going to be much better. We're going to remove branches that are encroaching on play. We had a subcommittee of the Grounds and Greens Committee come out yesterday and walk the course and identify areas where branches, are blocking shots that shouldn't be blocked. And then, of course, we're going to address safety issues. In my short time here, I've seen some branches come down that, could have taken out a member easily. And I tell you, without a wait list, you don't want that happening. I'm just kidding. Of course, we want to make sure that we have a safe area for all members. On the golf course, we're going to open up and we're going to have the new bridges on the back nine. The creek restoration will be complete, and then we're going to start seeing the native grasses growing. The bulkhead on the lake replacement with stone. And this is not a cosmetic thing. This was something that the infrastructure committee identified as the golf course, one of the essential infrastructure needs of the golf course. And that's why, because it is infrastructure, we think it's appropriate to use that additional $100,000 or $120,000 of the loan that was approved at the September meeting of the members to do something like this, as opposed to something that was just merely cosmetic. Although we do think it's going to look a lot better. And then the opening of the new level tees. Hopefully most of you have seen the work that's been done out there, and I think we got a great bang for the buck. We spent under $20,000 on resurfacing and leveling a lot of these tees that I think are going to perform much better over the next 12 months. And then we got some really great new grounds equipment. We've got new greens mowers, 6 new greens mowers, and a state-of-the-art sharpening system for these greens mowers. For these greens mowers, on the other reel mowers that cut the tees and the fairways, we're going to notice a marked difference in our ability to have the greens rolling true. We can make them faster if we want at the same level of cut, or we can make them healthier at a little bit longer and the same speed, but it's going to be great. Fairway blower's been out there in the last month at keeping the leaves at bay. And then we're going to replace some irrigation pumps that potentially could cause catastrophic problems if they were to fail. And then, not in the golf course, but in the clubhouse, we're also going to begin replacing the inefficient refrigeration equipment. And what you see right there goes on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And this is some of our old water-cooled equipment. And we estimate that about 4 million gallons of water is used to just cool our walk-in refrigerators and ice machines, and that water is going down the drain daily, and to the tune of probably $40,000 a year that can be fixed with about $50,000 one time. So we're in the process of doing this. We've already had a couple of replacement items that have done this, and we're looking forward to it. The most exciting thing in my life right now. So